What's up? How you guys doing? Fallen Angels back. I'm gonna attempt to do my video that I promised the person who asked me about. You know, if I still got my library of books, because they sounded like they were interested in one of the older videos I made about the Kabbalion, which I do want to do another one. I'm gonna do the best I can, because my books are in my storage. I can get them and do it even in the storage, the video, but I'm not, so I don't have my books to go to get the references like I did the last video. I had all my books at hand to reference times, dates, locations, and facts. You know, so I want to say here, do your own research, fact check, but I'm gonna be general when I talk about this. And let me start by saying disclaimer: every religion is correct. I'm saying that right now. Whether it's Muslim, Islamic, Buddhist, Christian, Jewish, all is correct. And I'm not saying what I'm saying is true. I'm just talking about books I've read and why they got me believing it. That's all I'm doing. All respect to all religions. So if anybody gets aggravated, like maybe, you know, and think I'm talking blasphemous, all due respect, just please don't watch, you know, because, you know, I'm not trying to be blasphemous or disrespectful to anybody who's there. So now that I got that out of the way, I'm going to talk about multiple of my books, not one book in particular, but I got books that didn't come in books. They were in tablets and stelas and stuff like that. You know, they were found in AD, but they were written in BC. And see, I don't have a lot of stuff. I wish I had the books to get the name. It was King something, not Harambe. It might be, but they dug up and got like thousands of tablets and stelas from his library, and they got a lot of information. But a lot of this stuff was written during the time where Hebrews existed and Christianity books, you know, I mean the Jewish books. Well, it's Christianity too, because they follow the Old Testament, and that's part of the Torah, you know, is the 5 books of Moses, you know. So some of them were written around that time, but the majority of them were written before there was even a Hebrew, because they were Hebrews before they were Jewish, you know. And Abraham was the first one, because he was Abram first, and then he went to Abraham, and Sarai turned into Sarah, you know, when they made their oath to Yahweh, you know, to their God. And what I have is a bunch of stories that say in Samaria there was people around 450 thousand BC, like, so 450,000 years ago, roughly. There was an argument. There's a planet called Nibiru. It's our 1 year around the sun. That's a year for us. 1 year for them is so huge, and they get so far away. It takes 3,600 Earth years for their 1 year. You know, so their time is way different than our time, and they in fact age differently. Like and we thought they were gods. The Sumerians thought they were gods, and they weren't. You know, they're lowercase g gods, if you want to call them gods. But what happened was they thought they were immortal and lived forever, and they were gods, because this is the story that the tablets and the Sumerians wrote. Whether it be myth or not, I feel it has a lot of truth to it, and it was written in the best way they could write it. They were writing it like keep track of history. Now, in Nibiru, there was a king and a cupbearer. He was like basically the king. I don't know if they called it the king, but the king and the cupbearer. And he was, I believe, and excuse me for not being 100% correct, because I don't have my books to relook to double check stuff real quick. But Alalu, he was the king, and Anu was his cupbearer, you know, at that time. And their atmosphere was going to crap, and they needed a really good atmosphere, because when they're far away from the sun, I mean 3,600 years around the sun, they get far. That's why we don't see it. You know, we don't know it's there. And they need to keep the heat that they trapped from the sun, like greenhouse effect. So they need that atmosphere to keep it warm enough. And then when they get real close to the sun, they need that atmosphere to block out the sun's harmful rays. You know what I mean? That, you know, you can get cancer, you can get burnt, and, you know, stuff like that. And they had these volcanoes in their planet, and that would help. Like, it would blow off the dust, the fumes, and soot, and what, you guys know volcanoes, and that would help maintain their atmosphere. But they were very advanced technologically compared to us, especially then, and they were having the problems that we supposedly have now. Like, we're sending planes to put like particles of gold, silver, metal, whatever, to reflect the sun rays. You know, we're having those problems ourselves to an extent. So you guys can understand what they were probably dealing with, because they were dealing with it for years, and their technology was so advanced, and they were probably really destroying the atmosphere. But they needed it a lot. Well, we needed it, period. But they needed it badly because of what I said, how far away they go. They needed to keep whatever heat they got from the sun in, and when they're close, they need to protect themselves from the solar rays. So at one point, the cupbearer, Anu, he goes by An or Anu, and that just means heaven. When in the language, that's where the word heaven came from, because they're talking about Anu, you know. But he didn't want Alalu anymore to have control, because he wasn't doing anything right at all, nothing right. So they had a fight. You know, that's how they were going to fight for whoever is going to rule the area. And you might see the guys on the dirt bikes, because they've been coming here a lot. But I'll still make the movie the whole time. And they fought to run the planet. And for some reason, they fight butt naked, and Anu won. So he is now the lord of Nibiru. And for whatever reason, Alalu hops in a jet, a spacecraft, I'll say, and bounces. Just leaves, because he feels he's going to get effed with big time from losing now to Anu. And, you know, they did it from the fight the right way. And I think he tried some funny shit too to win the fight, but Anu got the best of him. So long story short, he makes his way to Earth, you know what I mean? And he comes down here, and he notices that there's gold, you know, in the waters. He noticed at the time in the waters that there's gold. So he knows that a good idea would be spraying that gold in the atmosphere. It will stay. It'll help clear, you know, any holes in the atmosphere, and it'll protect them from the sun rays, like the stuff I say what we do for our supposed problem. And that would get him in the good graces of the planet. It might get him his position back, or just not exiled or fucked with by Anu. So he let them know. So the first person that comes down from Anu, Enki. Enki goes by Ea as well. You know, it's spelled Ea, but Ea, and but it's Enki. Enki means N is Lord, like Kal-El. El means, you know, Superman and shit like that, and his parents. Jor-El. El means Lord, so there's N. You know, like Elohim is plural. It means gods, but there's an L in there. N means Lord. Ki was earth for their language, so he was the Lord of the earth. So Enki came down, and they found out that there is gold in the water. So they brought people over, because they figured they would save the earth by that way. Now they started working people, and the people that they were working were the Ajiji. And I get multiple versions of the story. Like, they're either part of the the Anunnaki, and they're just a lower class, or they're just a different race, like a different species or race. And Anunnaki is just all races of aliens that came down, because Anunnaki just means people from heaven to earth came. Anu, like I said, Anunnaki. Anu means heaven. Ki, Anunnaki, earth. You know, the rest of the word, those who from heaven to earth came. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it covers every person, like other stars, other aliens. I don't know. So I'm not gonna act like I do. But the Gigi came and they got worked, you know, and the water wasn't cutting it. You know, it wasn't, they were getting a lot of gold, and what they would do is take the gold and ship it to Mars, because they made themselves have like stations in Mars where they accept the gold, and the Mars atmosphere is not as big. The gravity's not the same. It's easier to lift off. So when the planet Nibiru came close, they would come off from Mars and deliver all the gold to Nibiru, and just repeat the process, rinse and repeat. And yeah, there's a guy, two people. Like you could pick it. There's two people. Get close. If you can see them, see how they're walking that way? There's two people walking. Do you see it?
No. Oh yeah, I see it.
Try to get close for a second so they could see it. Like, you know, yeah. See the two people walking? Yeah. All right, go back to me now. You know, unbig it. But yeah, that means they're gonna probably come up the trail and walk. But yeah. So there's a lot of pictures too that they were calling this the 7. There was always like 7 dots. Like if someone was talking, and then someone had 6 dots over them, and there was like, it's hard to explain the picture, but basically Mars is 6 and Earth is 7. And if you come from outer space, because they'll count Pluto as a planet, because Pluto, they said, was first a moon of a planet, and something happened when the solar system was developed from the Enuma Elish. They talked about it like it was like a movie. They described it like that. They talked about it real colorful and flamboyantly. They didn't just say this planet, you know, they talked about it like it was people fighting wars and stuff like that, but it was planets. This was called Tiamat first, and we got hit by one of the moons from Nibiru, and a part of it broke off, and they said that became the hammer bracelet, and we have the, you know, that all the whatever, do you know the name of it, babe? All the asteroids.
Something, is it a belt?
Yeah, the asteroid belt that we
I
have.
think.
You know, that's like the remnants. But there was other stuff happening in the very beginning when the solar system was developing, and eventually, you know, they still respect it as a planet because it played a part in the development. It did something, but that would make Mars the 6th planet, and they were really weird. And if I get a chance, I'm going to show it right now. The picture, if we're able to edit it in, it's a picture of the solar system revolving around the sun. The Sumerians wrote that, and they're like from like 3000 BC. This that was from, or 2600 BC, something around there. And they had every planet. They even had Pluto as a planet at the time, you know, and they had the size differences all correctly, and they had Nibiru with it as well, you know, like big, you know, its correct size outest, you know, furthest. So even they knew everything revolved around the sun and what planets and what order. Meanwhile, the Romans were seeing as far as like whatever's further, Jupiter or Saturn, that's it. They were able to know about Neptune and all these other things. Why? Because I think because they were told about the stuff, because they had people that came, and when they first came down, it was 450,000 BC. Let me get back to that. They worked for, the Gigi worked so hard, I-G-I-G-I, and they worked so hard, and they worked for like 200,000 years roughly, and they were like, forget it. They made they set up a conspiracy to revolt and kill Enlil, because by this time Enlil, which means you know, Lord of Command, Lord of Command, like, so he became like the Lord of the, you know, the skies especially, but Lord of Command now, and because Enki wasn't pulling enough gold. He wasn't doing enough, because at the time they were doing it just in the waters. Then when Enlil came down, now they were mining, and they were getting more and more and more. And like I said, they were doing the Gigi, working them pretty hard. And the Gigi broke all their tools to mine, and they made a pact to go kill Enlil. And we're not working no more. First of all, you know, no pussy, you know, that was an issue. They said, and they're working us like a slave for too fucking long. So they went to try to kill Enlil, and they didn't succeed, you know, obviously. Like, and Anu was down there for that time, and Anu came and they talked about it. The major 12, the group of 12, which is the number, like Jesus had 12 disciples. The calendar right now has 12 months. You know, there's 12 zodiac, you know, symbols. You know, that 12 number is weird, and I think we got the 12 from that. And they talked about it, like, Enlil was like, I want to kill them. That's it. They all did that. They tried to kill me. Let's kill them all. You know, fuck that. And Anu's like, there's got to be something else we could do. Like, isn't it something, like, we did work them hard? We're working them really way too hard right now. And but we still got to get the work done. And then Enki said, and you guys will know, anybody who read the Bible will know this statement. Enki said, I've been in this area for quite some time now, and I've been doing my research, because he's a scientist, and his symbol is a symbol still used to this day. A catechus with wing, you know, 2 wings, but even just a catechus and 2 snakes wrapping around it. Still to this day used in hospitals and anything medically, still used, and that was his symbol. And that's why he was the serpent in the Bible. I'll get to that. But he said, I've been coming around and I've been seeing these beasts. You know, they're beasts. They hang out with the animals. They eat. You know how they live and stuff like that. But they're like us, and they were kind of like us a long time ago, before we evolved. You know, through you know, getting better and stuff like that. You know, when you change and mutate your genes and you adapt to your environment, you become better people like we did. I think we should put our how do they say it, like in the Bible? Put our what's the Bible statement, baby? When he says
our image.
Yeah, our image. Oh yeah, he goes, I think we should try to put our image and our likeness into them, and let them have the yoke. You know, twirl the, you know, do the work. And that is the same thing in the Bible that was said. But this was said before there was even a Hebrew on earth. He said, they wrote it down in their stellars. You know, it's written. I got it in book form and translated, obviously. He said, let us put our image and our likeness in them. And in his meaning was DNA, you know? And that's what I believe. And it is not just me. Those 2 serpents wrapping around the catechus is in the shape of DNA, a DNA double helix, you know? So they eventually killed the guy who was the main leader of the revolt, and used his essence, but I believe his DNA or whatever it may be, maybe his sperm, but I believe his DNA from his blood and stuff like that. And they kept trying, and they failed a lot. They made, you know, they kept trying to put it in us as much as we evolved at that point. We were some sort of hominid, whatever we were. And it just would come out sometimes deformed, like really bad. I don't want to describe some of the badness, but really bad. And they eventually, I believe Enki's wife said she will hold the baby in her breast, in her stomach, you know. So they used the egg from her, and you know, that, and they combined the essence, the 2 DNAs, and made them together, held them inside of her, and she was able to have a normal male. And you know, they give them breast milk from their breast as well, you know, to give them the nutrients. And it's on a stela, like, you know, like this, like she's holding a baby, and like she's so proud of herself, you know, like, and she makes a comment that I've done it. I don't know the exact words, so I'm not going to quote it. I would have if I had my books. I would have quoted everything and telling you where you could double check and stuff like that. I apologize for that, but his name was Adamu, Adamu, and what does that mean? The same thing. The first male from the Bibles is Adam. They just both mean man. That just meant man. But I believe that is where they got Adam from, because the first successfully created male was called Adamu, you know? And the first successfully created female wasn't Eve. For them, I think they called her Tiamat, you know what I mean? And he was able to do, you know, basically regular stuff. Like, they also wanted to hold back and not make them super advanced. Enlil especially. Enki had wanted to do that, but Enlil didn't want us to be advanced, because he wanted us just to be smart enough just to work and understand what to be told, how to follow directions and instructions, and to do work. Not smart enough to, you know, like now, like Rockefeller said, he made all the school books in the 1920s or whatever the hell it was. He goes, I don't want to make a bunch of thinkers, I want to make a bunch of workers. You know, that's basically what Enlil wanted to do. So he made that, and he made Homo sapiens, and that was around 200,000 years ago that this happened. And scientists now are saying, they've been saying it, that Homo sapiens were started around 200,000 years ago. Like the exact same time the Sumerians are saying what's going on in their history, which is our history too, if you know, because we're people just like they are. And so they started working us, you know, and but they first were trying to keep us in an area. They had a place called Eden, like the Bible, but this was written way before Hebrew, so like don't get it twisted. But it was called E.din. E stands for home. Din is short. It stands for Din-ger, but basically home for the lofty ones, and that's what they called the Lord back then. You know, the lofty one. You know what I mean? The lofty ones, because Elohim. But that's, you know, to me. And I said I am not right, and I'm not disrespecting anybody. I think those books were just the stories that they got from the Sumerians condensed into monotheistic, just one God. All the stories, they just made it one God, you know what I mean? And they took the stories and condensed it and changed a little bit to make it work for them. Some of it was to control the masses, and some of it was from true belief and believing in God and stuff like that, and for good reasons. But there are bad apples in every bunch, you know, at least one, you know what I mean? So some people did things and took out books and added stuff just to control people and masses and make them out of fear. You know, that's why that Old Testament God struck fear in the hearts. He was a jealous God, you know, blah, blah, blah. But he even said, the First Amendment, put me above all the other gods. Only pray to me, and only put me on the pedestal, not nobody else, no other idols. So even other gods were mentioned in that Bible. Even Baal, he fought Baal. You know, he did something with Baal in the Bible. Like, so there was other gods. Like, even mentioned other gods. But that's why Elohim is a plural. Just like Taliban just means students. Talib is student. Taliban is students. It's Elohim means it's a plural. All right, and they were trying to make a lot of workers, and they were doing it with 7 women. They were calling them the birth goddesses. You know, the women would carry the babies and stuff like that. But they were in Eden, and they were born hybrids. And you guys who don't know, I'm going to explain, but those of you that know already know. Anything that's a hybrid can't reproduce. And I don't know which way. Like, if a donkey and a horse fucking have a mule, or a horse and a mule fucking have a donkey, I forget which way it goes, that donkey or that mule, whatever is the right way to say it, can't reproduce because it's a hybrid. Any living thing that's born a hybrid can't reproduce. It's just how it goes. So we were born hybrids and couldn't reproduce, so they kept having to do it that way. Now, take the Garden of Eden. Enki did something to Adamu where and wasn't Eve. I don't know who was. It might not even have been Adamu because they had Adapa, because they have the legend of Adapa. You know, the whole story about him and stuff like that. Like he was like the next upgrade of, you know, them tweaking stuff. But I think it was Adamu still, I believe. They made it so, and they explained the Bible, you know, when they gave him Eve, but it was different. He was something was taken, like maybe from like his bone. They did something, I don't know, they messed with the DNA to make Adam and Eve, I'll say, just so it's easier to understand what I'm talking about. That's not the names, you know, in the original tablets, but Adam and Eve, to make them be able to have sex and reproduce. And if you think, their God told them, if you eat from any tree, you are welcome to anything, but don't eat from the tree of knowing. You know, good, they say good and bad, but tree of knowing and the tree of life or something like that, but surely you'll die. That was a lie. Why would a God that created the universe and created people lie like that? That don't make, to me, that don't make sense. And the serpent, who wasn't a serpent form serpent, they just made it like that, and they made it like he's Satan, because Enki's symbol is two serpents wrapped around a catechist. He's a chief medical scientist, and they still use it to this day. Like I've said, that's why a serpent comes in, and it was an algorithm. They ate from the tree of knowing. He said, surely you won't die. If you'll be more like us. You'll be more like a God, like us. You'll upgrade yourselves. And if you think about it, back then, to know your spouse, what did that mean? To have sex with your spouse. That's how they talked back then. You know, now it's like, yo, I'm fucking. Now they talk about it called bodies. When I was younger, bodies would, you killed somebody, but they have different ways of saying it. But I'm talking about back then. To know your spouse is to have sex. And if you follow religion, you're not supposed to have sex unless you're trying to reproduce, you know? I mean, and married and stuff like that, but to try to reproduce, you know, to have children and stuff like that. So obviously that was an algorithm. He made it so those hybrids now could reproduce and create their own kids and stuff, and they did. And then when Enlil came, he fucking threw a fit and kicked them out. And if you notice, there was more people. I'll get to that. Like when Cain kills Abel in the Bible, he said, and he gets banned, you know, in trouble. He's like, you got to go this way. And he goes, oh, what's gonna happen to me? They go, you know, there's people out there, they're gonna kill me. What people? You know, if you follow that story, what people are you talking about? You know what I mean? But it was because of what the original story was. They were making a bunch of homosapians. There was Anunnaki. There was people. So he gave them a symbol. He did something to them that now he goes, now they'll know not to touch you. You know, and if they do, they'll have problems 7 times that for 7 generations or something like that, and you'll pass that on through, you know, whatever was done through your genes, through you know, as your kids, and people say it's the Star of David, like a tattoo. That don't get passed. What does get passed, and what I personally think, is he made it so he can't have facial hair. He made it in his DNA, so now he can no longer have facial hair, and and that would get passed on through your genes. And he got banished to go that way. And if you think, if he did go there and land masses were able to get crossed, there was ice ages and stuff like that, the Native Americans, the 100%, the ones that 100% really can't grow facial hair. I mean, some may now be able to grow some, you know, but that's because you're talking about thousands of years later. But I think that possibility that's Cain went that way and made it that far, and that is kind of like his lineage. Like when you know, that Asian guy, Attila the Hun or whoever, like his genes are in like 80% of like 2% of his genes at least are in 80% of like Asia or something like that. Like that might be his, you know, Cain's ancestry. But they had those same names. They called it slightly different, but same names: Cain, Abel. You know, Abel. Same stories. Like they wanted to show Enlil and Enki stuff that they did, and they fought, and they had a Seth. You know, it's called Set. You know, like different names, but the same names, and you know, stuff like that. But you know, that is something. I don't know if I'm gonna drag this out and make a long video. But I'll just do like a quick ending, but there's a hell of a lot more I could talk about. So maybe I will break it up into like different sections, and I'll have the books when I do it in hand. They just kept doing that stuff. They kept mining for gold, and Enki kept trying to help us. But one thing I do want to say is that like the Abraham, like his father especially, so Abraham too, I'm sure, from the Bible, as he was Abram, came from Ur. Ur is in Sumeria, you know, and their god was Nanarsin, which is a moon god, and he had the symbol of the crescent moon. And like I said, all respects to all religion, the Kaaba stone originally was dedicated to a moon god, and that area was an area that Nanarsin was in control of back then, and his symbol was a crescent moon. And their symbol was a crescent moon. So I'm not saying that that's who they're accidentally praying. I am not. I'm just saying these are just interesting facts, you know, coincidences. That's all I'm saying. But you know, I just think about all that, like all these things are written in the Bible that I was told was true, and I grew up to, but yet I had a problem believing in it. Like some of the stuff in that Bible is Enki, but most of it's Enlil, and they made Enki like a serpent, a piece of crap, you know, because he kept trying to do the right thing. Because they also got the book of Noah before, like Hebrews. Like it wasn't Noah originally; it was. Do you remember? You don't remember the name, babe. I forgot the name. It was another name.
Zasudra?
Zasudra. Thank you,
like
baby. Thank you. The book is Zasudra. It's the Babylonian flood myth. You know, that goes under. There's two other names they go by. They tell two stories: when the Sumerians and when the Babylonians tell it, and then it changes to Noah when it's told in the Bible. But the planet Nibiru was going to come around, and it was towards the end of one of the ice ages. Our last ice age, like that did happen around like 12,000 BC. You know, it ended around then, and the planet was going to come around, and what it does is it causes destruction. It comes real close, not real like, hey, it's right next to us, but real close. Like you would see a big planet. It'd be scary to me, so it might be scary to you guys. But the gravitational focus, the moon gives us seasons. It has the wax and wane of the seas, you know, like it does a lot. The planet, it causes lightning and tornadoes, bad storms, it does bad things. And the ice age was ending, and they knew the polar ice caps were just gonna fall off. You know, giant polar ice caps were gonna fall off into the water, create a massive tidal wave, huge, and raise the water level dramatically and flood tons of areas. And Enlil wanted everybody to die, you know, everybody. And there was a point, yes, that the Ajiji came back down because they were called the Watchers then. You know, after that they would be, you know, in the sky. They were the Watchers. You know, and the Bible talks about that. And the same amount of people, 200 or 300 of them were up there, and that's what the Bible says. It was fallen angels, but they got pissed again. They wanted pussy. Enki was fucking everything. You know, every human. You know what I mean? He was making kids, and they came down and they were starting to make love, and people were marrying, and they were starting to have babies and such, and I was pissing off Enlil. So when that storm came, he said, it's gonna wipe out all of them. We're gonna start fresh, kill them all. Enki didn't want to, so he went to one of his kids, and you know, and he told him what's gonna happen, what to make, how to make it, and you know the story of Noah, but it was Enki telling him what, you know, his kid how to do it, and he wasn't grabbing 2 of every animal, because I don't know how someone's imagination could think that's humanly possible. It was the DNA, the animate, you know, if case need be, you know, they had DNAs of important animals and species and whatnot. That could be carried in a ship, you know, with the food. And he didn't just go by himself. Anybody who helped, he carried enough people that he was able to carry. And when the storm let up, they went to the same place, Mount Ararat, you know, and they cooked for, you know, Enlil wanted to kill them at first, but the people were crying when they were in the spaceship, seeing everybody drowning and dying. But then when they lived, he was upset at first, but then they were cooking like meat, and like he ate, and he said, all right, let them live. And you know, they kept producing from that point on, and making more. And there's a lot more to the story. There's a lot more stuff that coincides with certain religions and stuff like that I want to tell you, but I don't want to drag it out and I don't want to bore you. That's why I probably have a lot of girls shaking their ass here and there, so there's something for people to look at, you know, to keep you guys interested during my editing. My editor is my manager of my channel, my wife, soon-to-be wife, you know, my fiance. And yeah, there was one more. I thought another dirt bike person was gonna come up. There was one more thing that I was gonna say that was, but I don't know it. But yeah, that's what I'll leave it at now. So I told you that, and I will go back to more from this point on and give you more details. I got to think more before I say it, because I don't want to say something that's incorrect. I just want to say something that's written by the Sumerians. I don't say theirs is right, yours is wrong. I'm just saying stuff that the Sumerians wrote, you know, in their history, and giving you guys something to think about, like just food for thought. So I hope you guys enjoyed yourself. I enjoy talking to you guys, and I did what I promised. I talked about the books I read. The Kabbalion is something totally different, and that is something sick, and I might make another video one day about that again, because that is by Hermes Trismegistus. It's Hermetic teaching, actually another book. And Hermes, I think, was Ningishzida. That's my son. That's one of Enki's sons. And yeah, like Murdoch is another one of Enki's sons. He turns to Ra. And then when he got banished from Egypt, because he started trying to fight a war with the Enlil clan, you know, the Enkyites, and trying to fight the Enlilites. They were talking about the Great Pyramids. They made them, and I'll talk about those when I do another part 2 or something like that. But they banished them from the first war, the first Pyramid War, and he turned into Amun-Ra. And that just means unseen God, unseen Ra. Ra is the sun god, unseen, because he was banished. And that's why you got to think, when you pray, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen, amen. Not you guys are praying to Yahweh, that's us saying it, I understand. But people that are confused would be praying to Amun-Ra. You know what I mean? That's his name. But I'm going to talk about more stuff like that, like in how everything ties in and stuff. And it's written in history, and our history. Like Alexander the Great thought his dad was Murdoch, you know, Amun-Ra, and he went to Egypt, and they treated him as a god because Amun-Ra was a god to them. All these aren't gods; they're lowercase g. They're just more advanced. And he went to Babylon because Murdoch owned Babylon, was his area. He tried to do the Tower of Babel. It was really his own lift-off station. It wasn't a tower. A tower that's going to reach heaven, but he was dead, and that was around 300 something BC. He was dead. He wasn't there, and a little bit after that, he wound up losing. Alexander the Great wound up losing everything. You know, he was dead himself. Like it was suspicious how he died. But I'll go into more of that. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I enjoy doing this stuff. I enjoy doing these channels. It gives us something to do. Me and my fiance, and we're working on everything. We got stuff going on. We're doing all right. We're getting by. I love the comments. Please hit like. Please subscribe. Tell me if you want to hear about anything, like any type of stories, because I did 10 years in prison. I got into a lot of shit. I've done a lot of drugs. I could tell, you know, if anybody's interested about a certain drug, what it felt like, you know, what it was. I don't do nothing now, but you know, I've done it all under the sun prior. You know, even prostitutes and stuff like that. You know, I was bad compared to what I am now. Now I'm just a laid back guy. You know, chill. But I'll talk to you guys later.